You know that feeling when you make a decision and then almost immediately your mind starts picking it apart, wondering if you made the right choice? It can feel exhausting, but the way out of that cycle might be simpler and gentler than you think. Today we are going to talk about how to build real, lasting trust in yourself so that second-guessing loses its grip. This matters because that constant doubt doesn't just slow you down, it drains your energy and keeps you from moving forward with confidence. When you start to trust yourself more, you will notice a quiet sense of trusting yourself isn't about never feeling doubt. It's about knowing you can handle the uncertainty. In real life, this shows up in small moments like choosing a career path or deciding who to spend time with. It means you listen to your own inner voice even when it's quiet and you let that guide your actions. For example, when you pick a restaurant for a group, you don't immediately panic and ask everyone else what they want. A common misunderstanding is that self-trust requires total confidence, but really it just requires a willingness to move forward despite the questions. The relief here is that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to own your choices. A simple takeaway is that trusting yourself starts with noticing when you already make good decisions without overthinking. Let's look next at why this matters so much for your everyday well-being. When you trust yourself, your daily stress levels drop because you stop second-guessing every little move. This matters because constant doubt drains your mental energy and leaves you feeling exhausted by bedtime. Think of self-trust as a filter that helps you decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. Practically, it means you can make a choice about your morning routine and stick with it without rethinking it 10 times. A realistic truth is that without self-trust, even simple tasks like replying to an email can feel overwhelming. The benefit is that you free up mental space for things that actually matter, like your relationships or creative projects. A helpful insight is that self-trust isn't a luxury, it's a basic tool for keeping your mind calm and clear. Now let's explore what life looks like when this trust is missing. Without self-trust, you often find yourself stuck in a loop of asking others for validation before making any move. You might reread a text message 5 times before sending it, or change your outfit 3 times before leaving the house. This constant second-guessing makes you feel like you're always on shaky ground, never sure of your own footing. In relationships, you might hold back your true opinions because you're afraid they're wrong or unimportant. A common pitfall is that you start believing your doubts are facts, which only deepens the cycle of uncertainty. The hard truth is that this pattern can make you feel invisible, as if your own voice doesn't count. But recognizing this pattern is the first step toward breaking it, because you can't fix what you don't see. Next, let's look at the common habits and beliefs that keep this block in place. Before we move on, I'm curious about something. What part of today's video felt most relatable to you? Was it the idea of listening to your gut, or the part about letting go of overthinking? If you feel like it, drop a comment below. This simple reflection can help you notice where you already trust yourself. And if you're finding this helpful, please hit that subscribe button. It's a small way to support more videos like this one. Then keep watching, because the next section dives into another practical step. One major habit that blocks self-trust is the constant need to compare yourself to others before deciding anything. You might scroll through social media to see what everyone else is doing, then use that as your only guide. Another pattern is replaying past mistakes in your head, which makes you believe you can't trust your own judgment now. A common belief is that you need to be 100% sure before you act, but that's a trap that keeps you stuck forever. The misunderstanding here is that certainty is possible, when in reality, life is full of gray areas. The relief is that once you see these patterns, you can start to question them instead of blindly following them. A simple takeaway is to notice when you're looking for permission from others instead of checking in with yourself first. Now let's move into the first mindset shift that can help you start changing this. The first mindset shift is to stop treating your doubts as enemies and start seeing them as normal background noise. This matters because fighting your doubts only gives them more power and makes you feel more uncertain. Instead, you can acknowledge the doubt and still choose to move forward anyway, like walking through a light rain. Practically, this means saying to yourself, I notice I'm unsure, and that's okay, I can still make a choice. A realistic truth is that even people you admire feel doubt, they just don't let it stop them. The benefit of this shift is that you stop wasting energy trying to eliminate doubt and start using that energy to act. A helpful insight is that self-trust grows when you prove to yourself that you can act despite the uncertainty. With this mindset in place, let's look at the first practical step to begin changing your habit of second-guessing. The first practical step is to start making small, low-stakes decisions on your own without asking anyone else for input. For example, choose what to watch on TV tonight or which route to take on your walk, and stick with it. This matters because each small decision you own builds evidence that you can trust your own judgment. A simple way to do this is to set a rule. For the next week, decide one thing each day without consulting anyone. A realistic pitfall is that you might feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is actually a sign of growth. The benefit is that over time, these small wins create a foundation of self-trust that carries into bigger choices. A takeaway is to treat each decision like a tiny experiment. You're just testing if you can handle the outcome. Once you start building that trust with small steps, you'll be ready to explore how to apply it to bigger areas of your life. Let's paint a picture of what trusting yourself actually feels like during a regular Tuesday. This matters because most of us think self-trust only shows up in big life decisions, but it's really in the small, quiet moments. Imagine you deciding whether to speak up in a meeting or stay quiet, and you notice you pause instead of panicking. You take a breath, check in with your gut, and then say what feels true without over-explaining. The realistic truth is that you might still feel a little nervous, but you don't let that nervousness override your choice. That small win builds a tiny reservoir of confidence that makes the next decision slightly easier. The takeaway here is to start noticing those ordinary moments, like choosing what to eat or how to spend a free hour. From there, you can begin to see a pattern of quieter, more grounded choices that honestly feel like relief. One simple habit that can really anchor self-trust is a short, intentional check-in with yourself each morning. This matters because without a routine, your brain defaults to old second-guessing patterns as soon as stress hits. All you need is 30 seconds to ask yourself one question: what do I already know about today that feels right for me? You're not trying to predict the future, you're just noticing a single preference or instinct before your mind starts debating it. A common pitfall is thinking you need a perfect answer, but the point is just to practice listening without judging. Over time, this tiny habit trains your inner voice to speak up earlier and with more clarity. The simple takeaway is to pair this question with something you already do, like brushing your teeth or pouring your first drink of water. That small anchor makes it easy to keep going. And next we'll look at a mistake that can quietly undo all that progress. If you want to keep building this habit of trusting yourself, there's more waiting for you. Over at www.happylifetribe.com, you'll find gentle resources to support your journey. The site is filled with practical ideas and encouragement for a calmer, more intentional life. Whether you're looking for a short reflection or a new mindset shift, it's all there. Think of it as a quiet corner online where you can return anytime you feel stuck. I invite you to visit and see what resonates with you. No pressure, just a helpful next step if you want it. It's all about making small changes that feel good for you. A really common mistake people make is expecting self-trust to feel instantly certain and rock solid. This matters because that expectation sets you up for disappointment and makes you think you're doing it wrong. Trusting yourself often feels more like a quiet, maybe this, rather than a loud, yes, absolutely, in the beginning. If you wait for that big confident feeling, you'll keep second guessing because your brain is used to playing it safe. The realistic truth is that self-trust grows through repeated action, not from waiting until you feel ready. When you accept the initial discomfort, you actually build trust faster because you're not stopping to doubt the doubt. The takeaway here is to lower the bar for what trusting yourself looks like. It can be as simple as choosing slightly and moving forward. Once you let go of needing certainty, the whole process becomes lighter, and we'll talk next about how to keep it from feeling overwhelming. To make self-trust feel realistic, you have to shrink it down to a scale that fits your actual life right now. This matters because large, vague goals like just trust myself feel impossible and lead to giving up. Instead, focus on one area where you already have some experience, maybe choosing a movie, planning your afternoon, or deciding what to say to a friend. Pick a tiny decision that has low stakes and practice listening to your first instinct without running it by anyone else. A realistic truth is that even people who seem very self-assured still feel uncertain. They just don't let that stop them from acting. The relief comes when you realize you don't have to trust yourself in every area at once. Just one small corner of life is enough to start. The practical takeaway is to ask yourself, what is one small thing I can decide on my own today without asking for backup? That one decision becomes a proof point, and next we'll explore what starts changing inside you once this trust begins to grow. As self-trust strengthens, you'll notice a shift from constant mental chatter to a calmer, more settled inner state. This matters because that background noise of second-guessing often drains way more energy than the actual decisions do. You might find yourself feeling less anxious about small choices, and even big ones start to feel like manageable steps rather than massive cliffs. Another change is that you spend less time replaying past decisions and less time imagining worst-case scenarios for future ones. The realistic truth is that doubt doesn't vanish completely, but it loses its power to freeze you in place. Emotionally, you start to feel a quiet pride in your own judgment, like you're finally on your own side. The takeaway here is to notice when you feel that little sigh of relief after making a choice without overthinking it. That relief is a signal that trust is growing, and in the next scene we'll talk about how to keep it going when life gets chaotic again. When life gets hectic, the first thing to drop is usually the gentle inner work, but that's exactly when you need it most. This matters because busy times trigger old second-guessing habits, and without a simple anchor, you slide back into doubt. The key is to make your self-trust practice so tiny that it feels almost silly to skip it, like one conscious breath before opening your email. You can also tie it to a trigger you already have, like every time your phone buzzes, you pause for 2 seconds and ask, what do I think right now? A realistic truth is that you will not always remember, and that's okay. Momentum isn't about perfection, it's about returning more often than you stop. The benefit of keeping this small is that it stays inside your day rather than becoming another task on your to-do list. The simple takeaway is to identify one automatic moment in your day, like sitting down in your car or turning off your alarm, and use it as a cue to check in with yourself. That tiny habit protects your progress, and in the next scene we'll look at how to handle the deeper doubts that still linger beneath the surface. Over time, trusting yourself more starts to change how your whole day feels from the moment you wake up. You begin to notice that decisions that used to drain your energy now feel lighter and more natural. This happens because your mind slowly learns to rely on your own judgment instead of constantly checking with others. For example, you might choose what to wear or how to spend an hour without that familiar wave of doubt. It is not that life becomes perfect, but the background noise of second guessing quiets down significantly. You start to feel more present in conversations because you are not replaying your own words in your head. This shift gives you back mental space that you can use for things that actually matter to you. As this becomes more natural, you will see how much energy you are wasting on unnecessary worry. One of the best ways to grow in self-trust is to know you're not alone in the process. The Happy Life Tribe community is full of people learning to live with more peace and intention. When you subscribe or visit www.happylifetribe.com, you join others who are also taking small steps forward. Together, we share real, everyday encouragement without the pressure to be perfect. Whether you're on a good day or a tough one, this is a space where you belong. You don't have to figure everything out by yourself. So if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and connecting with this growing tribe. Your journey matters, and it's wonderful to have you here. Even after you make real progress, there will still be days when the old doubts come rushing back. This is not a sign that you are failing. It is just part of being human and learning something new. A stressful event, a criticism from someone you respect, or even just being tired can trigger that familiar second guessing. You might find yourself questioning a choice you felt confident about just the day before. The challenge here is not to avoid these moments, but to recognize them without letting them take over. When this happens, remind yourself that one shaky moment does not erase all the trust you have built. It helps to pause and ask yourself if this doubt is based on facts or just old habits. These setbacks are actually valuable because they show you where your practice still needs a little more attention. When you notice yourself slipping back into second guessing, the first step is to simply notice it without judgment. Do not try to force yourself to feel confident right away. Just acknowledge that the old pattern showed up. Then take one small action that you know you can trust, like making a minor decision without overthinking it. This could be something as simple as choosing what to read or deciding when to take a break. The goal is to remind your brain that you are still capable of making choices, even when doubt is present. After that small win, give yourself credit for catching the slip and for taking action anyway. This recovery process gets faster each time you practice it, like building a muscle. Over time, you will slip less often and recover more quickly when you do. This topic helps anyone who has ever felt stuck in their own head, replaying decisions long after they are made. It is especially useful for people who are naturally thoughtful or detail-oriented, because those traits can feed doubt. If you often seek reassurance from others before trusting your own gut, this practice is for you. It also helps people who have been told they are too sensitive or too cautious and have internalized that message. The reason it works is that it addresses the root cause, which is a lack of practice in listening to yourself. Whether you are a student, a parent, a professional, or someone navigating a big life change, the same principles apply. This is not about changing who you are, but about learning to trust the person you already are. If you have ever felt like your own worst critic, this shift can bring you some real relief. To start trusting yourself more today, pick one small decision you have been putting off and make it right now. It does not have to be a big choice, just something you have been hesitating on for no real reason. Once you make that decision, do not change it or ask anyone else what they think about it. Then at the end of the day, take a moment to notice how it felt to follow through on your own judgment. You can also try writing down one thing you trusted yourself on, no matter how small, to reinforce the habit. The key is to start with low-stakes choices so your brain can build confidence without pressure. Repeat this simple practice each day, and you will slowly train your mind to rely on you first. This is not about perfection. It is about building a new pattern one small decision at a time. Learning to trust yourself is not a destination you arrive at. It is a practice you keep coming back to. There will always be moments of doubt, but those moments do not have to control your life anymore. Every time you choose to listen to yourself, you are telling your own mind that it matters. This change is worth practicing because it gives you back the freedom to live without constantly second-guessing your own path. You do not need to have all the answers. You just need to be willing to trust the ones you already have. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, and the quieter that inner critic grows. You already have everything you need inside you to make this shift, starting right now. So take a breath, make that small choice, and let yourself begin. As we wrap up, I hope you feel a little more permission to trust the quiet voice inside you. You don't need to have everything figured out to start believing in your own decisions. The small steps we talked about today are simple enough to try tomorrow morning. If this video helped you, please give it a like and subscribe to Happy Life Tribe for more gentle guidance. For extra encouragement and practical ideas, visit www.happylifetribe.com. There you'll find a supportive space with calm living inspiration and mindful lifestyle tips. You're not in this alone, and every little choice to trust yourself matters. Thanks for being here, and take good care of that quiet confidence inside you.